The Snapped Podcast. My name is Tyler Kluver, and I'm a former Division I athlete turned entrepreneur. I run my own fitness and nutrition coaching business, as well as a sports media brand that produces podcasts, sells merchandise, and creates exclusive paid content. The fun part is I don't really know what I'm doing as a business owner. I'm just figuring it out day by day. This show, Snapped, acts as an audio journal for my thoughts and ideas on fitness, health, business, mindset, and whatever else I find important on the pursuit to personal happiness and a balanced life. I hope you can take something from the show that makes your life a little bit better. And regardless, I'm just happy you're here. Let's have a day. Let's go. Here we are. Snap Podcast. I felt compelled to jump on. I'm actually recording this the day before you hear it. I'm recording this on Tuesday, October 2017. 2017? What the fuck am I saying? It's kind of the day it's been. Sort of the reason why I'm on here. Tuesday, October 17th, 2023. I usually record this on Wednesdays, usually have something to talk about. If I don't, I have a long list to pull from. Today, it was one of those things where something that was relevant for me popped up. I had time, and I thought, you know what, we'll do it on this. It might even be a short episode because this isn't some big topic. And this is honestly probably just going to be me talking it out. But in a conversation with my wife, something sort of the way I explained something to her, and I didn't even try to do this, just sort of felt like a really, really enlightening way of getting across this point. And it's about rest days. It's about taking rest, taking a workout off, a day off, a week off, pulling back to a certain extent to something that's more right for you in that moment. We'll get there in a second. I do want to give a quick shout out to a couple buddies. Justin, who I've mentioned before on this podcast, buddy who I have personally trained with a couple times for a couple long distance runs, half marathons. Ran the Des Moines IMT half this past weekend, set a PR time. And a buddy from back home who is not a fitness guy, would never listen to this podcast, will never hear this, and may never run a race again, ran the full marathon. I think it took him like 5.5 hours, but he did it. And he works a fucking blue collar job, 50 hours a week, hates doing exercise. This guy, all he likes to do is fish and just kind of hang out at the house and just be a simple person. And he fucking trained the last few months and ran the full. And that is more impressive to me and gets 10 times, 30 times, 100 times the respect than a lot of other people would, because I know how dedicated he had to be from his baseline to go do that. So shout out to them and anybody else who ran those races. I've been seeing people running all over Waukee. I know that a lot of those people are training for the oftentimes the Dam to DSM or the Des Moines Marathon. So yeah, we're in the middle of October. We are probably almost exactly. It'll come out on a Thursday, so a day later, but we are probably 4 months to the day, damn near, of the CrossFit season starting. So 2/3 of the off season, my off season, not 2/3, more than that, because the season actually ends in March, or April. I mean, we are chugging along on this off season of CrossFit, the sport that I currently participate in more than anything else. Dedicate decent amount of my life to right now. Um, and we're in a time where it feels like I should be. It's a grindy time for sure. It's the off season. We're not super close, so there's nothing to really get excited for. It's starting to get colder, right? So temperatures, average temp now is somewhere in the 50s or 60s every day, which is awesome. But when you wake up in the morning, it's cold. I'm not old yet, but the bones aren't young like they used to be at 20. We're very much so closer to 30, basically 30. And when you do CrossFit, regardless of what age you are, you kind of wake up crickety all the time. So it takes a little bit to get going. And some of that, some of the external factors that may or may not be present at times during the year start to show up around this time. And I've talked about on here how I personally am different than most people in the sense that motivation wise, enjoyment wise, passion wise, whatever you want to call it, exercise, and not just exercise, but competitively training at levels that are just unfathomable, not even really comprehensible to some people, going hard in workouts, pushing myself to a place of like hurt and physical effort and exhaustion and pain and uh, really just pushing the line of what's possible with my own body and capabilities is something that I truly enjoy. And a lot of people don't. And I'm not right or wrong for that. And other people aren't right or wrong for that. I'm just sort of the minority when it comes to that. I 95% of the time wake up, maybe even more than that, wake up and am stoked to work out. Absolutely stoked. I'm checking the workout, the training day, the night before, like it's Christmas Eve because I'm excited to know what I get to do in the gym, what new test or what new training piece I get to do, or what my percentages are for my squats. I'm a fucking nerd about it. And while that's great, it doesn't really serve a purpose other than it probably makes it easier for me to get my training in on a consistent basis relative to the normal person. However, there is a utility to that natural inclination to exercise. And that is if I do happen to find myself, and this is what I told my wife, this is where I kind of had the revelation. This stems from this morning. I was scheduled to have a 45-minute zone 2 piece. We've talked about zone 2. And that was going to be on the rower. I've been doing Tuesday zone 2 45-minute sessions in the morning on the rowing machine. And to sit on the rowing machine, and this itself might be an episode of how truly beneficial it is. But this morning, I was not feeling it. My motivation was low. I didn't want any piece of exercise. I got out the rower and did like a minute, 2 minutes of warming up on it and just kind of like stopped and was like, no, I'm just not into this today. Like, I am not willing right now to put in 45 minutes of work. I don't want to do it. And as I said, that is an uncommon spot. That is a way that I feel about working out 3 or 4 times out of 100 when I go to do a piece. And so I didn't do it. I got off the rower. I thought, maybe I'll do something later today. I did end up actually doing a piece, which we'll talk about. But I just walked out of the garage and came back into the office and sat down and did some stuff, did some work. Tried to get away from the gym, away from the the mindset of we need to work out away from exercise and fitness and health. And got into a conversation back and forth with my wife over text, and I was like, "Yeah, I actually skipped my workout this morning. I was just not feeling it." And she knows, she's aware of the consistency and dedication that I put into training. And so she responds with, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." But if someone like me, who 95% or more of the time is absolutely stoked to work out, happens to wake up and isn't stoked to work out, then that's probably a sign that I shouldn't work out. And it really is that simple. And this isn't going to work for everybody. In fact, for most people, it's not going to, because most people's inclination is the other way around. 90% of the time, they don't want to work out. And if they listen to themselves, they're going to be hitting a workout one out of every 10 days, and they're not going to be seeing a lot of results. But what it does speak to is we each have indicators, norms, general baseline levels of motivation, energy, excitement. Um, Hell, this could even be for the females out there, um, how they feel at certain times during their cycle of the month, levels of hunger, levels of hydration, all these things that our body gives us tells us. And it's the reason why we need to be in tune to those. We need to know what our average levels of all those things are. Because if we don't, it's hard to notice the deviation. And these things can be used really effectively in telling us when something is going wrong, when we should take a break, when we should go harder, when we should pull back, when we should have a deload week, when we should eat more, when we should sleep more, all this stuff. That's super important. And so I kind of recognized that this morning and thought, damn, like most of the time, I'm not even thinking about this. I'm outside of my own body. We're just wake up, hit the workout, grind, yada, 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 boom, boom, boom. But I kind of realized if I don't feel like working out, I should probably not work out. One, if I force a piece, if I force a lifting session, especially if it's a lifting session, because you could get hurt trying to lift heavy weight when you're not locked in. But anything, right? And if I force a training session, maybe I drive my CNS or my body or my muscles or whatever it may be that's trying to tell me, hey, don't work out, further into that space of not really being ready to do exercise. But I'm also just and in that way, I'm just wasting my time. I'm not getting better, I'm getting worse, and I'm wasting time getting worse. I think that it's important to know when to do that, and this is probably, just a large part or what could be described as athlete IQ or sort of fitness IQ. And again, if you buy into this too much, you're gonna fall into the trap of, "Oh, I don't wanna work out today. Probably shouldn't. If I don't wanna work out, I probably shouldn't." Maybe the metric of your motivation to work out isn't a good one for you. It's a great one for me. And there were other things as well. I was hungrier today than normal. My right hamstring was bothering me in a way that doesn't normally happen. Um, a few other things. I know for a fact the last week or so we're in a time during the year where my wife is working the most that she ever the most that she does during the year. And now that we have a kid, it means I have more responsibility with the kid. Yesterday, I had to take the kid to the doctor. We were out of routine. All this stuff is adding stress sort of subconscious stress to the plate. And I recognize that and I take a step back, knowing that one day is not going to make or break it, just like one day isn't going to make or break getting extremely good or making crazy amounts of progress. Also, knowing that you have to jump back on the horse once you feel good and ready to go again. And a way to feel not so bad about things is to, again, I truly believe this. On any off day, an off day should look like, 10,000 steps of movement, walking around, maybe a light bike ride, some sand volleyball, 30-minute yoga session off of YouTube or something. Like, in my mind and my philosophy around fitness and health, um, we as humans should never have an off day to the tune of we sit on the couch and don't move our body. I think that's more detrimental, actually, unless you're like truly injured, than getting in what we would call like active recovery. So, I went and played a round of quick disc golf, 12 holes across the street at the park. I went for 30-minute walks today. And then I actually did end up putting together a half-assed effort at a short piece that was high intensity, that took me like 25 minutes to do. Was it worth it? Maybe not. I got a decent amount of muscle pump and fatigue stimulus out of it and a decent amount of breathing stimulus out of it. And that's about it. I didn't put up some impressive time or anything, but I got a high intensity 20 to 25 minutes in. And that's what an off day looks like for me. And that was better for me today than the 45-minute morning row and then another hour of afternoon stuff that was scheduled. And you just have to sort of know and feel that out and understand it. Don't force things. Because this whole idea, this whole topic of a podcast is also on the heels of me knowing that I've been hurt twice in a severe part of my body, my back, of which I'm still sort of feeling and working through every single day. I'm not fully recovered from my June 3rd back injury. And that was the second time in 6 months that I had done something to my back, 7 months. My first back injury was not even a year ago. It was 11 months ago in November. And that was, I had overtrained myself to the point where basically my entire posterior chain shut down on me. Both of those injuries were probably the result of me not taking and doing what I've done today. I did not take enough rest days. I did not listen to my body when it said, hey, pull back. I did not do enough deload weeks. I was overtrained and I ran myself into the ground twice within an 11-month period. So this is a bit of an execution on one instance that I'm trying to be better. That's all we can do, is try to be better. Hope you find something positive or productive out of this. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next week. Peace.